Welcome, everybody, to It Tastes Different Gaming Podcast, a podcast with three different flavors coming from three different gamers. I am your host, Shane Eisterhold, and I want to welcome my co-host, Patrick Smith and Nick Irwin.
Hey, Patrick. Where can they find us?
Well, the first place you should check out is our website at ittastes.different.com. This is the place where you can subscribe to all of our streams and connect to all of our social media sites. You can also find us on Facebook at It Tastes Different. We're also on Instagram at It Tastes Different PC. And then last but not least is Twitter, where you can find us at It Tastes Diff.
What's for dessert today? Today we fill the Batcave with ice cream. Patrick, what flavor are we having?
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the DC Fandom thing that just happened. You know, DC Fandom just came out, and they were talking about a couple of new games that were coming out. The first one, is Gotham Knights. I just want to talk about that one first. That's the one by Warner Brothers Games in Montreal. We kind of heard rumors of something like this, but what I thought was kind of cool, it looks like, it's Batman. Basically, I don't want to give away anything, but basically it's going to have like Nightwing, Batgirl, Robin, and Red Hood in it. Well, that's at least what we saw in the trailer. So I definitely interested in that. I'm kind of wondering if they're going to make this co-op. They did show a couple of scenes of that, where there was a couple of them fighting together, especially like the Mr. Freeze scene, and then a couple of scenes where Batgirl and Robin were kind of fighting together against some like trash mob NPCs. I think that looks pretty good, and I hope they go a co-op route with it. I mean, they showed 4 characters. I wonder if they're going to make it 4 or just 2. What do you guys think about this one that they showed off at DC FanCon?
Well, I think I'm excited as heck for it. It is going to be co-op. I just double-checked that. It is going to be 4-player co-op. You'll also be able to play as the same character as your friend. So you can have 2 Batgirls running, 2 Red Hoods or whatnot. So that is pretty cool. I love the Arkham series. I know Warner Brothers Montreal, they did the other Batman game that wasn't quite as good, Batman Origins. But I'm really excited for it. I hope they took some lessons from what they did on that one. Plus, I hope they take some lessons from Arkham City, which was a great game, but it had some issues. I think they were trying to do a little too much, and they kind of went away from the whole Batman thing. But I love the trailer. I loved what the combat system in that game is just fantastic. And I know they're going to end up having all the little extra characters you can play with, just like they did on the other ones. So it's going to be, I'm going to say it's going to be a great game as long as they're not forced to push out crap before it's done. But I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, right now everything's just rumors since it's sometime in 2021. I mean, it'll be interesting if they do make it a 4-player co-op, but it looks more like it might be 2-player co-op since nothing's been said officially. But if they get some co-op in there, I really hope it's more than 2.
Yes.
Just because we play with a group of 3 to 4, so 2-player kind of leaves some people out. But at least if it's 2-player co-op, we can play. We can just pair off in twosies.
Right.
Nick, what do you think about these kind of games? Are you a fan of the Batman, the Arkham series type stuff?
I am. Truth be told, I only played through Arkham Asylum. I do have Arkham City and Arkham Knight. I never played through them, and I loved Arkham Asylum. And I do want to play through Arkham City and Arkham Knight. At the time, I didn't have time to play those games, so it's going to be one of those series that I'll eventually get through and eventually play through. And I do like those types of games. And I know that's Rocksteady and not Warner Brothers Montreal, but I think Origins I played a little bit of Origins, and it was an okay game, and it got okay reviews at the time. I think they could definitely make something really cool. And, they do show 4 characters, so it better be 4-player co-op. I'd hate it if it's something like 2-player co-op, like you said. I mean, that would suck. Especially if you're going to show 4 different characters, then have 4-player co-op. I mean, what's the point of having 2-player co-op if you're going to show 4 characters? Then just show, have Batgirl and Robin out there or something like that.
Right.
That's a really interesting concept you said, Shane, with it, being able to play as, 2 Nightwings or 2 Robins or whatever. I'm assuming they're going to have outfits and different outfits that you can put on. All those characters had all sorts of different outfits, so that would be kind of cool. I wonder if that's something that you can just, pick up and wear at the onset, or if that's something that you find in the game. it'd be really interesting to see how that mechanic works out. Maybe something like Spider-Man, where you get the medals or medallions or whatever to unlock the different suits.
All right.
So it might be something like that.
Yeah, we're just super early. Well, the information is kind of sparse out there, you know. Obviously, I think this one's coming out for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, you know, Gotham Knights. So it'll be kind of cool. I mean, hopefully none of this is spoilers to any of you guys, but in the world is, you know, as Batman is dead. That's the whole premise of it, and it's the family taking over kind of thing, you know. So we're going to have Batgirl, Nightwing, Red Hood, and Robin, you know. So it's going to be interesting to see how, you know, the game trailer that I saw looks pretty. Looks like a very modern action RPG game, you know, but we won't see it until sometime in 2021, you know. So with the way that everything's going now, I hope sooner rather than later, but I'm betting on later just because of, you know, I'm sure everybody's still trying to polish things up for the new consoles. They're around the corner, so, you know, definitely would be interesting to play 4-player co-op in this game. And we'll just make Shane play Batgirl. We won't have to make him. He'll want to play Batgirl.
You dang right.
Is this being developed for the new consoles, or is it also being developed for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One?
It's both. It's coming out on both PS4,
Yeah.
PS5, Series X, and One.
It's a cross-gen.
Gotcha.
They're not forcing one way or the other. Right as of right now, you know, they basically haven't said that they're forcing it, but they said everything. So it'll be great. Play with your friends. Batman, Batman Gotham Knights. You know, so it'll be online co-op. I'm hoping for, but and more than likely, I think it'll be 2. But we can all hope, right?
Well, let's just say this much: if it's 2, it's understandable. It's fine. If it's 4, great. But nobody on Earth should make a 3-player co-op game. That is ridiculous. Yes, Destiny, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, 3-player co-ops just don't make a whole sense. Most gamers come in pairs. Sometimes you have that third wheel friend, but most often it's two players that usually play together, and then they have another group of 2 players that they play with. You know, I guess there are some of my friends that have their 3-player group, but most often than not, they're 2 or 4-player groups. So yeah, so that's definitely one that I'm interested in, and that was basically talked about in the DC Fandom thing this past week. So, you know, lots of Batman, lots of DC related stuff that they talked about, you know, but, you know, we were talking about the game. So Gotham Knights, definitely very interested in that. Want to see more info in it. And we got to look forward to it sometime next year in 2021. Definitely will be one that's on my radar coming into 2021. What about you guys? Think it's on yours as well?
I have played every Batman, and I am just super excited for this game. Absolutely love the Batman series.
We can already hear it. Shane's already ready. He's getting his Batman voice going on. I'm Batman.
He's getting his suit on.
Yeah, he's getting his suit on.
I was going to go Christian Bale Batman, and then I thought, let's go Affleck.
Then instead he decided that he's going to go Batgirl. Adam West.
It's Adam West.
Adam West. You gotta get the little pow ka-chow going on, you know, for Adam West.
Oh my God! Now I know what I need to print. A big pow.
Right? There you go. Just for the game.
So
yeah,
you know,
I think it looks good. Yeah, I think it looks good, and it's definitely on my radar. You know, if it turns out to be what we're all hoping it to be, then yeah, it's a definite must buy.
DC games, you know, DC doesn't do as well as Marvel does usually, but their games are, in my opinion, usually better. So, you know, the Batman series games are always pretty good, you know. So we'll see how this one plays out. Definitely look forward to it, and you know, by then hopefully we'll all be playing it on nice new consoles.
If we ever get a freaking date,
right? Waiting on that date. You better buy me a ring. I'm ready for my date.
And a price.
Right.
And a price, yeah. So also that came out of the DC Fandom was the Suicide Squad game. The Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. That one, I honestly think, to me, looked a little bit better. I'm more interested in that one, to be honest with you. I saw that one and I was like, ooh, even though that, you know, I was just like, this one looks like a fun game, you know, and if that one doesn't come out 4-player co-op, somebody needs to get their hand smacked. You know, it's definitely a game built for 4-player. I mean, it's Suicide Squad, and especially this one when they've already let you know that we're seeing Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, and King Shark. We already know that that's the 4 players in there. And why can't I play 4-player? And they're all 4 together in all the game scenes and trailer stuff that we saw. So, that one I think, from what I read, since it's 2022 as the release date, it is only looking like it's going to be on the Series X, the PlayStation 5, and then Microsoft Windows, of course. So, and it's also in like the Batman Arkham series type world. So, definitely something I'm interested in. Most people didn't care much for the movie adaptation of the Suicide Squad, but I actually enjoyed it. It's one of those like guilty pleasure movies that I think it's pretty good. But the gameplay, it looks cool to me. What do you guys think, Nick?
Yeah, I think this looks really good. And I think this one's, if I'm understanding right, this one is made by Rocksteady. And, Rocksteady right now has a great track record. I mean, they've made great games since the beginning, so I don't expect anything less from this. Like I said, with Arkham Knights, they are showing, or with the Batman Knights, Gotham Knights, they are showing 4 players again, like you said. So they better have 4-player co-op. That's all I'm saying. And it looks to be that way for this one as well. Both of them seem to be going in that direction of a 4-player co-op, and hopefully they both have 4-player co-op. But yeah, this looks really cool. It looks really awesome. And, like the trailer showed, you're fighting the Justice League and a bad Superman or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think given the timeline and the subtitles and everything, the Kill the Justice League is, I am thinking that it's where they got to kill the evil versions of Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman with, these 4 anti-heroes have to take them down. Because, the Suicide Squad's not necessarily good, not necessarily bad. They're just kind of controlled type thing, So I think that,
right.
I think that they're going to be taking down the evil version of those people. Because, we saw evil Superman, in the trailer as he was the alpha target. So, I'm sure that their bad guys are going to be evil Batman, evil Wonder Woman, and evil Superman type stuff. That's what my thought process is after seeing the evil Superman.
Yeah, I'm just really interested to see how because it was kind of an odd character choices for the Suicide Squad. I mean, yes, Harley Quinn obviously was going to be in it, but if you think about it, Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, Deadshot, King Shark. Okay, King Shark he's a shark, but the other 3 are just dudes with a gun, a boomerang, and a bat. How are they going to take out Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, even Aquaman? Aquaman uses a fish hook, but you can, how are they going to go against that? That to me is a really interesting idea. I really want to see how they try to pull this off.
Yeah, it was an interesting choice of characters. Like you said, I could imagine Harley Quinn being there and even Deadshot, but Captain Boomerang and King Shark, I was kind of surprised to see that they were in there. 'Cause, I mean, I'm not as affiliated with Suicide Squad like you guys might be, but I'm pretty sure there's other characters besides those, correct?
Right.
Yes,
and I think they're getting a little bit of play off the movie because Deadshot was in the movie. But King Shark was not. Obviously,
but
he wasn't
will
in the movie.
But he will be in the upcoming sequel, the James Gunn directed one.
Okay, well then that's probably what they're capitalizing off of. They're capitalizing off of the movie references because in the movie, they pick and choose what they're like. These are the best. We think these are the bestseller heroes, the bestseller anti-heroes, I should say, and that's what they probably basing this off of. So it's an interesting choice, because none of them are really super. If you want to go that way, they don't all really have really great abilities, except for the mutant Super Shark or King Shark, and then Deadshot's superhuman ability to always hit his target. So it'll be interesting. I do want to see how the 4 characters will play together in co-op, and then how you're supposed to be able to take out evil Superman as these 4 will be interesting, or even evil Wonder Woman. So at least with Batman, it's tech. We can counteract his tech to some extent. But with the other 2, Superman is Superman and Wonder Woman is Wonder Woman. They are superheroes in the sense of the word. So
right.
definitely will be a good game. And The DC Fandom thing, I was a little surprised that they only had 2 games, but those were the 2 games that they decided to push out for us to know. The bad thing about it is Suicide Squad, we're looking at 2022 sometime. Could be Christmas, could be summer, could be spring, could be anything. Winter, we just don't know. So, it's one of those things where it's hard not to be excited about the game, but then again, I think that's 2 years from now. That's a lot of time between now and when that game is coming out. So I need to put it in the back of my mind and not to forget about it. At least with Arkham or the Gotham Knights, that's sometime within the next year. We could be looking at more than a year, but that would be putting it to like November, December of 2021. But at least within some time to me that is within the foreseeable future. 2 years is a little bit hard for me to try to stay excited about a game like that.
And I honestly, I have a big problem with release, with showing something off so far out in advance, because it can either get lost or then they just keep moving it back, like so many games have, like Cyberpunk and the ICO game. Can't remember what that one was called.
Or in Halo.
Yeah, in Halo, exactly. You tell me this is going to be out in 2 years. Okay, great. 2 years later, well, it's been 2 years. You can wait another year. No. You tell me about a new game 6 months from now. That's what I want to know. I want to know after. Yeah, I want to know when it's, that the team is finishing up and they're tidying everything and, they're tweaking for the next 6 months. That's when they should announce the game.
Right, and 2 years is a little bit far, in my opinion. Yeah, because we've gotten invested in games like this before. I remember hearing stories about Anthem. Anthem is the big one that always comes to mind when stuff like this happens, because we followed that game forever. I remember we heard about it years before it was coming out. We were like, oh yeah, it's gonna be great, and all these videos. And every time a new video would come out, we would just drool over it. And then and then it played great. Just it let us down in the end, but. It builds up 2 years out, in my opinion, builds up hype the game can't live up to. You have this,
absolutely.
You build a hype upon hype upon hype. They have to outdo the previous commercial, previous trailer, the previous information. They just have to keep outdoing themselves over and over and over to the point to where the legend of the game can't be as great as the game can't be as great as its legend.
Yes, yeah. They keep they have to try to keep that relevance. But you can't do that for 2 years. You can't. We may never hear anything about this for another year. That's kind of hard to do to me. I think that's hard to do to people. 2 years, and then what happens? It gets canceled, like a lot of games do when they announce them so early. Look at all the games Microsoft announced 3 E3s back, got canceled. Sony did the same thing. Hell, Metroid Prime 4, they showed an emblem, 7 years ago? What have you heard since?
Right, yeah, and it seems that way. And, there's a hard balance to strike between release or showing off a game and when it's going to be released, right? And I think a lot of developers have that hard stance, or even maybe publishers in that sense of when should we show a game. Nintendo is bad about showing a game way too early, like you say with Metroid Prime. Everyone wants Metroid Prime, right? We want Metroid Prime 4, but you just show a logo and say, oh, it's in development. Well, now everyone's hyped for it, and then you don't hear anything about it, and everyone forgets. So it's like, at that time, should they have shown that it was? People have already speculated at that time that there was a Metroid Prime. I guess you're just telling people that there is, but do you need to do that? And for the Rocksteady game, with the Suicide Squad, coming out 2 years from now, or even longer if it gets delayed, and comes out on the PlayStation 6 and the Xbox Series X, or maybe Xbox Series SX. I don't know. But, is that going to happen? You don't know. And there are a lot of games that do end up getting canceled. That one by Xbox that everyone, or by Microsoft that everyone was all about, the one with the dragons and by Platinum. Like,
oh, yeah.
Oh,
the
name of it. Dragonborn?
No, it was, I remember which one you were talking about. Yeah.
Scalebound.
Or Scalebound. Yeah, there you go.
They had a whole trailer and the images looked all polished, and I'm like, this
And that was going to be a 4-player co-op and with dragons and dudes, and it looked awesome. Everyone was psyched for it, and it got canceled.
Oh yeah,
Or it just goes into the development hell, like Beyond Good and Evil 2. I mean, we heard about that game back in 2017, and then we get like little snippets every few years, and it's like, come on, guys, you've been in development now for 3 years. When are we going to see something? There's never been a release date or anything. So games that just tell you something and say we'll be out in a few years, they don't always, but a good chunk of the time they end up disappointing because their release date gets pushed back. And, we all understand the developer wants their product to be perfect, but they've also built up this level of anticipation in their audience that they're like, we got to have this game, and then they disappoint their audience, Then it creates this big community shift where there's half the community who are like, we understand, we want you guys to create the best game, and then you have all these other people who are mad and irritated, and it's like an infighting between the two groups because the people who are irritated want to voice their irritation, but the people who are on the side of the developers they want everybody to be kumbaya and work together and just understand, which both sides have valid points, and that's just how everybody has to understand it. The people that want it now are mad because they can't get it now and they anticipate it. The people who are like, yeah, we want the developer to put out their best product and we can wait. There's valid points to both.
Right, and if you have enough games between now and then, I'm cool with you pushing a product back. And sometimes in some situations, good things happen. I think for Double Fine and Psychonauts 2, Psychonauts 2 has been in development for a long time, and I think since Microsoft acquired Double Fine's been able to go back and say, hey, we can, now that we got this, kind of extra income, we can make more out of this game. And seeing more of this game, I didn't really play much, if not any, of the first Psychonauts, but a lot of people seem to like it, and the second one looks like it's going to be pretty cool, and it's probably something I'll play, especially since it's probably going to come to Game Pass day one anyway. So it's definitely going to be something I'll play. So there's situations like that happen.
Right. And then you have situations where you have Star Citizen, they're in development hell for their entire life. They're never going to come out of alpha or pre-release or whatever they're in now. I mean, I remember hearing about them back in 2010. They've raised so much money now. They just keep changing the end goal of that game, which we'll never see. I honestly think we'll never see that game, even though that's one company that has raised millions and millions of dollars, but has yet to put out a game that's for the masses. They keep saying, well, you can buy the Founders Edition and play this, and this, but I want to play a finished game. So, this type of stuff happens with games where they just get stuck in development forever until they either die or they just say, hey guys, we're just going to put out an alpha release, and that's all we're going to ever do is an alpha release.
Yeah, that's just on the line of almost criminal, if you ask me. They're just taking money, hand over fist, but they're producing nothing.
Right. So like I said, yeah, the releasing a game information way too early is a hindrance to some extent in my opinion, but it's just my opinion. Some people may be like, oh yeah, I want to know about it 2 years in advance, 3 years in advance, whatever. It's always great to speculate on the unknown of a game, but until the developer comes out and says this is it, it's all speculation. And when it is a disappointment because it's not really being done or it never makes fruition, it's not the developer's fault because they didn't tell everybody this was happening, So that's kind of how I look at it. If they don't ever say anything, but rumors get leaked that something's happening and it never does, then so be it. But if they get out the information, put out the information to the public, and then they pull it because of whatever, company, studio goes under, they get acquired, something like that, that's just something that you have to think about when they put this information out there so far in the future.
Yeah, if you remember, Sony did that with Final Fantasy VII. That was announced back in 17 or 16, 17, I think. They first, teased, all right, we're redoing it. They did the trailer, the train, they go up to Shinra, and that was it. And then it was nothing for like 2 years, 3 years, and then finally, they started spitting out a little bit more information. So, that's just... to me, that's just wrong to do to your customers, your gamers. And then when the game gets canceled, the game gets, just turned into something completely different, which has happened before too. The original Halo was an RTS, and then they turned it into an FPS.
Right. Sometimes it's for the better, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a tangent we all got off on, huh? Talking about games, DC games, and then we end up going into games that never make it to the end.
Well, let's talk about a game that probably won't make it to the end.
So what do you guys think? So, do you guys got anything else you wanted to add about the DC Fandom games that they announced? You know, the Suicide Squad or the Gotham Knights?
I'm just super, super excited.
Yep. Me too.
Yep, I'm the same. I'm excited for them, and I can't wait to see what they come out with, and hopefully they stay on track with their release dates, or we get a sprinkle of information throughout the year about these different games, and especially if they're going to announce them so early or talk about them so early, let's continue that information train and continue to get more information about these. So, but I'm excited.
Definitely, I like the DC games that come out usually, especially the Batman series games. So definitely look forward to that. I guess we're talking a little bit about DC. Let's just talk about recently. We all participated in the. We're going to switch over to Marvel and talk about. We got invited to the Marvel Avengers beta that we played a little bit of, and then we were in the big open beta thing this past weekend. I think it was. This is one of the games we talked about early on in the podcast that. We probably are not going to buy. Well, I'm probably not going to buy due to how I feel they've treated their consumers on the other end. But we did play the beta, because I wanted to, find out if this really is something that I can bypass and not have to play. Shane, what did you think of our little Marvel Avengers open beta weekend play?
I think for a beta, itself went fine. I think the gameplay was fine. I think the level designs were fine, but there was not a bit there that made me go, man, I've got to have this. I'm going to put my my upsetness of the whole, Spider-Man thing, to the side and just look at it for what it is. It's a button masher with a little bit of RPG element to it, but there's nothing special there that I could find. I mean, it was fun playing with you guys and Russ. It was a nice team game, a good, fun group game, but I don't think there was enough there to make me want to spend $60 on it. Now, it is going to be a games of service. It will be updated and updated and updated. There'll be content after content. At some point, it might get so good that, God dang, guys, we got to get it. But right now, I don't see it. And if I put the Spider-Man thing back on the table, I'm still on the voice of boycotting it, because that, to me, the whole Spider-Man thing was crossing a line you shouldn't cross with your gamers. But I enjoyed what we did together. It has that going for it. It is a good game to play with your friends. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I agree. It was fun. It wasn't a game that I don't think either that we should purchase, at least for right now. It was fun. It was fun playing the different characters, and through that beta, you got to play as our Miss Marvel, I think it was, and
Yep.
then who was Black Widow. So. That was neat, and and unlocking the you can unlock different comics and various things like that and abilities for the characters. But for me, I feel like with the direction they should have went with that game, and it was fun playing together and everything. But I think the direction they should have went with that game is where you get to make your own Marvel character. I think that would have been cool. You could design and create your own Marvel character and just have it even just being 4-player co-op. They didn't have to make it an MMO or some shared universe type thing. But where the Marvel characters and Hulk and Iron Man are there, but you're your own superhero within the, maybe joining Marvel or whatever. Because the co-op missions almost felt that way. Like I played as Hulk and Hulk was fun. But, I think I would have had more fun, and I don't know if it was the same for you guys, but I think we would have had more fun if it was my own character, that I get to name myself and get to dress up myself and have, and get to pick their certain abilities and weaknesses and strengths. Kind of like City of Heroes or City of Villains, which was the MMO back in the day. Something like that would have been really cool, especially if they're going to make it a games as service. I don't know. For me, it's like, Yeah, you do want to play as Hulk and as Iron Man, but and all these or Marvel characters, but they have plenty of games with those. I mean, wouldn't it be cool to be able to create your own character with their own powers within the Marvel universe, where you're part of that universe, but your own superhero?
Yeah, I believe DC Universe did that. If I remember right, you actually created your own character, and the story plot was you, as a new, fledgling hero, get to, try to join the big leagues.
Right, yeah, DC Online, which is still going on today, and it's a pretty good MMO. It's got a lot of content, and there's still a big player base. And I think if they would have done, like I said, they don't have to make it MMO, so they could make it more streamlined, where you have certain abilities and certain things, and they can make it more tighter, because with an MMO, you got to kind of make those abilities and things like that kind of looser because you have so many people. But with a more constrained environment, where it's just 4-player co-op, you could have these more, maybe a mixture of the different Marvel characters' abilities that you could just kind of mix and match between your character, and get to design them and design their look and their outfit and everything, and that would have been really cool.
I mean, I'm on board with just about everything you guys said for the most part. I will say that the campaign was extremely boring. I did not even finish it in the beta. I stopped the campaign as soon as the multiplayer opened up. I was extremely bored with the campaign style of the game. It felt really weird. The campaign had a lot of bugs in it. When I was fighting the Abomination multiple times, he would disappear and stuff like that, which it's beta. It's understandable that's going to happen. And so that was fine. I honestly think for the most part, as a gamer, we can play a lot of things co-op that are trash, that are just fun because we're playing with each other, with friends. We can play a lot of trash-based games as long as we're playing together. I mean, we played some pretty boring games that don't stand on their own, but just stand on their own when we play co-op, but not single player, So, and this game feels very much like that to me. For the most part during the multiplayer, I played Tony Stark, Iron Man the whole time, and and stuff like that, just because I like that character. That was the one that I wanted to play, and everybody kind of picked a character and stuck with it, and we all played it. I mean, we did all the multiplayer stuff you can do in co-op to finish, or in co-op to get the beta and game beta achievement. We did all the missions, the co-op missions, but I stopped the campaign as soon as the multiplayer opened up, and I'm pretty sure there was more, because every time I logged in, it was like continue the single player solo campaign, and I just didn't do it. For as close to the release time as it is, it didn't feel as completed as it needed to be. There was just a few quirky, I don't know how to explain it. It felt a little quirky and jittery to me. I don't know how best to place that, but we ran into a lot of weird
little bugs.
Yeah, where one of the bugs was we had to go when we were fighting like an NPC that you can get some purple loot out of. He was only appearing for Shane, and the rest of us couldn't see him. And we're just looking at Shane punching a tree, and I'm just like, all right, there's nothing there. And he just wouldn't die,
It was an evil tree.
Right. So, but I'm on the same train. Even if, and I'm going to go with Shane on this, even if we took the whole Spider-Man debacle off the table, it's not a $60 game to me, and it's not a have-to-buy day one game for me. If the Spider-Man stuff was off the table, this is at best case, sale game for me, Yep. The only selling point for it is it's Marvel, and I like the Marvel stuff. I like the DC stuff. I like both sides of it. I'm not a hater on any one of those types of things. I love both, and they both have their respected characters and stuff like that. I enjoy both of them. This game, to me, was not $60 worth. The single-player campaign, you got to play as Captain America. You got to play a little bit of Thor. And then, you play as Tony Stark, and then it takes off where you play as Hulk and Miss Marvel, or as we play Black Widow first, and then you play Hulk and Miss Marvel. And like I said, I just couldn't wait for that part to be over. I'm like, I want to play with my friends because this is boring, Yep. So, and it's a button masher with some you just basically get more and more cool abilities that you can do. As long as you just learn the combo moves, you can pretty much just cakewalk the game, which is what we did. But, we play together quite often, so we know how each other plays, and, we can make up for anything that we see that happens that the other player needs help with, or there's a shortcoming somewhere in the character design or something, So yeah. It's not a $60 game for me. even if they're doing it as a service, because Marvel's probably going to be one of those greedy companies, or whoever, who's Crystal Dynamics and all those guys who are putting out the game is going to be greedy, and they're going to be like, oh, we're putting out this new character, this new skin, but they're DLC, and you're going to need to pay my year one season pass or my $20 to get this type of unlock stuff. But when you throw the Spider-Man stuff back onto the table, it's a $10 game for me. They're not getting anything out of me to make any money off of me because of that. I will wait till it's either a Game Pass game or that it's going to be a sub $20 game for me. I am that disheveled with their decision to do the Spider-Man thing that it is what it is. And honestly, if the roles were reversed and they did Spider-Man only for Xbox, I would still be on this path with them. I'm like, sorry, you're basically cutting off a portion of your gaming base. You shouldn't do that. This is basically no bad dog, no bad Marvel. You don't do this to people, so they won't be getting my money to make them any money for now. Like I said, the games as a service thing may change my mind down the road, or as soon as Spider-Man gets released to everybody, that will probably change my mind. But it's a co-op game. I wouldn't mind if you could make your own character, like Nick said, but I honestly think being able to play as the Marvel heroes is kind of iconic and fun. If they did do the model that Nick did, I would want it to be more of an MMO, and that the Avengers are just more like your kind of like your contacts in City of Heroes or City of Villains, where they're the ones that tell you, hey, the city's being attacked, New York's being attacked, and they're doing the whole, basically sequence in the comic books by introducing these Marvel characters as your mentor or contact for the current comic season that's going on type thing. But it's not a bad game, and it's not a great game. It's a middle of the road game. I would honestly say it's a okay game. It's not groundbreaking, not boring except for the campaign. But we played a lot of fun co-op missions. Killing the tank was probably the funnest mission, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys thought.
Big tank, yeah, I agree. It gave me a very Halo-y, 1 vibe when you first fight the Scarab, because it's that kind of a mission. I really think out of everything we did, that is definitely probably the one memory that was like, man, we had a good time on that one.
Right. We did that one multiple times, for sure,
right.
On purpose.
Yeah, I think that was a really fun mission. Some of the other missions were kind of weird, where I'm not sure what
you were done.
Yeah, pretty much. It was like we get into it and we start fighting enemies, and it's like, oh, the mission's over, and you're like, okay, the mission's over. I guess we did what we were supposed to do. I don't know what it was, but we did it. And some of them were really short at the beginning, which didn't make much sense, because there would still be enemies on the screen, and the game would just pop up and say, you're done. And then just you go back and you're like, okay.
Good job, team.
Right.
Yeah, good job.
I think we figured out really late into the game how to discover what were the side missions in each of the main missions, because we didn't realize that pushing like up on the D-pad for Xbox would show you the secondary missions in the game until we were well over halfway. And I'm like, well, crap, how much of this stuff did we miss because we didn't do all this? I mean, we're all a bunch of like completionists to some extent, where we're like, hey, let's do all the side stuff while we're here, So, and then because we were complaining, like in the game, like halfway through the game, we're complaining like, where are you? I can't find you, because there's no mini map that tells you where your buddies are in the game, and we would get separated. Everybody's off doing their own little thing. Hulk smashing something over here, and Black Widow's over there kicking something, and so we got, and then finally, I don't even remember who it was like, hey guys, push up on the D-pad, and I'm like, what? So I'm like, we've been complaining this whole time for a feature that's in the game that somehow we all missed. So
right, yeah, we were like, hey, they should really add this feature where you can find your other friends, and then it's like, oh, hit up on the D-pad. Well, there you go. Then you know where everyone's at.
2 hours later.
Even told you like a marker as far as where to go for the main quest. It would even show like a white line saying like, hey, you need to go this way. It wasn't me. It was a middle of the road game, and it is kind of weird, this type of game being made by Crystal Dynamics. I love Crystal Dynamics. They make the Tomb Raider games, which are fantastic. And most of the games they've made I've really liked, and it's kind of odd to see Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics making a Marvel game. I would have assumed Marvel would have went with a different company. Not that I don't think Crystal Dynamics couldn't do it, it's just kind of an odd fit, in my opinion. Mainly because Crystal Dynamics is more known for their single-player campaigns, right? Because if you play the new Tomb Raiders, they're fantastic. but they're single player adventures. And they're made for that. I think they have a multiplayer mode or some sort of multiplayer thing, but they're mainly single player adventures, and they're great for that, and they do a great job of that. And it's just kind of weird to see that company do something like this, where it does have a single player feature, but they have to throw in that co-op multiplayer portion of it, which I think is just throwing off their single player storytelling that they typically get off pretty well with the Tomb Raider games and stuff. And I agree with you with the Spider-Man. That sucks and that's stupid. And like you said, even if Spider-Man was on Xbox and on PlayStation, you'd be like, well, that's stupid. And we're boycotting our purchase of this game. And, when they came out saying that for PlayStation, there was a lot of PlayStation users that were saying the same thing. Like, no, that's stupid. People on the Xbox or whatever else device should be able to play as Spider-Man just like us. Everyone should be able to play Spider-Man. Destiny did the same thing, and a lot of people didn't like that.
You shouldn't punish people because they decided to buy a specific console. I mean, if a person can only afford one console, that's by all means, that's they choose to buy the console they want for whatever reason. We've already went into detail about why people do this, buy specific consoles. But, a lot of people can only afford the one console. Oh, they can't justify buying the second console for whatever reason, It is hard for me to justify buying a second console. I buy it for the PlayStation exclusives, but that's, in a console run, that's probably less than a dozen games that I buy on that PlayStation, but I bought it for. I bought it for that. My reasoning for buying an Xbox, we've already discussed, is that's what my friends buy, and that's where we primarily play co-op games together. So that's why I buy that one, and then the PlayStation is for my exclusives. Now, if it was the other way around, we'd buy PlayStations and then buy the Xbox for the exclusives. But, so I do think that's punishing people who haven't bought the console that you want them to because you own some part of the IP, or you got some plan that somebody wants to borrow something. Basically, you bargained with taking away something from gamers so that you can give the studio or whoever a one-up on something else. So it's a big no-no for me on when they do this. So that's exactly why honestly, the game is a middle-of-the-road game, but the whole Spider-Man thing makes it a turd for me right now. So I don't want to buy a turd.
No turds for Patrick. I could not agree anymore with you guys. It's what Marvel I'm not going to throw the blame at one person. I know because it's Sony, Crystal Dynamics, Square Enix, and Marvel. Those guys, they made a crappy deal with this whole Spider-Man thing. And the game, like you were saying, Nick, with the developers, they should have went with what they're more qualified to do. That's just me. And I think when this game hits Game Pass or, the $5 bin at the local pawn shop, then I might buy it.
Right, yeah. So it'll be one of those on sale games for me, for sure, if I do actually intend to buy it. Because by the time I may intend to buy it, we may not even have any interest in it as a group. And that, like I said, that's the only reason that I would buy this game, is if, as a group, we decided to make the decision to play it, because I want to play the co-op. The single-player campaign bored me to no end, and so I was just like, I'm done with the single-player stuff. So it would be a group effort. If the group came out and said, we're going to give this a shot because we want to play a co-op, then I would maybe make concessions. Just depends on how much of the sting is still there from the Spider-Man thing. But honestly, I think as a group, we're all under the same impression that it's got to get Spider-Man released to everybody, and it's going to be a sub $30 game.
I definitely agree.
So, is everybody, anybody got any other comments they want to make on the Avengers or the DC games that we kind of talked about?
Well, as far as the Avengers, I would like to say if they would work this, fix Spider-Man, obviously, but if they want to make that game a little funner, a little more, cooperative, as it is a co-op game, I'd like to see them utilize some of the powers together with people. I didn't see Hulk do anything with Iron Man, or, I'd like to see something like that. Stuff from the movies, Hulk throw him up, Iron Man blast him.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I didn't see a whole lot of synergy moves, but I didn't even read if there was. Did anybody else catch if there was like synergized moves between multiple characters in that game?
I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything where there was any type of synergized moves. I think the last game that had that was the Marvel Alliance, right? Where you could synergize with other characters. But in this one, I didn't see anything that worked with other Marvel characters.
Which is surprising because, especially for like Square Enix, because they do this in a lot of their games. They do the synergized moves, the Final Fantasy games and all that stuff. There's synergized moves together and stuff. So that's interesting. If it is something we just missed, it may be, but if it's something we missed, that sucks. Because I would have liked to have seen some of the synergized moves, but it is what it is. But that's neither here nor there now. We may or may not find out. If this game goes to Game Pass, we'll play it because guess what? We got it for free or, part of our subscription plan. But I don't see us purchasing this when it comes out in November.
Yeah, I don't see why Hulk can't throw Wolverine. So
we're gonna lawn dart Wolverine. What the Hulk is gonna do? We're gonna do what was it? The Secret Wars with the Marvel and then all the X-Men and everything together.
Yep.
So then you do the Secret Wars. So yeah, I think what is this? This game is supposed to be out. Actually, I think it's September. It's like November.
I think it's next week.
Next week.
Yeah, September 4th or something like that. But then the November was for the next. I think they're going to release it on the next consoles. When the consoles come out. And I don't even know if it's optimized for the new gen consoles. So
Or if you have to pay for an optimization, because some of these companies are. God, who was it? I just saw the new Call of Duty is going to be $70 for the new consoles.
And they said too that they weren't going to have for the current console generation, they weren't going to have a upgrade path to the new consoles for the next Call of Duty.
So that game's not on my list for a while. Another sale game.
As Activision, they're like, hey, how can we make that money?
Yeah, how can we gouge all these people without seeming like we're trying to gouge them? Our games are now $70. Which I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Maybe we're not into the place yet where I don't know if we're in the place yet ready to see $70 games or not. I mean, a $60 game is sometimes a hard pill for me to swallow. So $70 just makes it even that much more hard to swallow. Especially because it's a hobby for us and for me. It's a hobby that we do, and spending $70 on a game is a pretty hard pill to swallow. So we'll just have to see what happens. If more games follow the trend, then the only option is to either buy it or you just have to wait for game sales, which right now I'm at the point to where I wait a lot of times for game sales. The only things that I really buy up front are the big name stuff that I just got to play now,
Right. And that was a hard pill to swallow when games went from $50 to $60. Back in the day of Nintendo 64, a lot of those games were $60. And that was hard. You would get a Nintendo 64 game every once in a while, right? Because, back then that was expensive. And today it's still expensive, but it's a little bit easier to purchase a game that's $60, but still I don't like to purchase games at $60. And like you, Patrick, I only buy games at that full price value. If it's something I know I'm really going to enjoy and I know something that I really want to play, then I'll buy it for $60. Otherwise, I'm waiting for it to go on sale because I don't want to spend $60. $50, you say like $50 is still expensive, and it is. But I'd rather pay $50 than $60, and $70 is, we're getting up there, we're going to get up to the point where we're going to pay almost $100 for a game.
Yeah, that's a pretty hefty bite considering, your console, let's say you bought an Xbox One right now, they're $299 if I remember right. So that's what, 4 games almost?
That's funny that you mentioned that because I don't really, as the current price point at $60 a game, I don't really compare it to how many games I got to buy before I pay for my console. But when you just mentioned the $100 price mark, the first thing that went to my brain was how many games do I get before I've bought the console's worth in games? and I don't know why, but that to me was just and immediately like brought to memory like how am I going to afford that? If I buy a $500 console and I buy 5 games, that's $1,000 that I've just spent on a gaming hobby, and that $1,000 is just 5 games. Yep. That, I would have bought in a current thing, I would have bought 10 games at that price or whatever. I'm a big bargain gamer. I wait for the sales. I do the Steam sales all the time on PC, and then I buy stuff when they come on sale. But certain things, you just had to buy at full price. Like you're very rarely going to get a Nintendo game on sale. So I'm always, when I bought Zelda and Mario, I paid full price because I'm not getting them at a sale because they're never go on sale. And PlayStation, for the most part, I buy those games at release. The games I want on PlayStation because they're gotta haves for me. They're the exclusive games. Yeah, they're the exclusives that are just like you gotta play those. So I buy those at release. Xbox, I'm pretty much, I wait for a sale on the most things on Xbox unless it's a big co-op game that we all want to play, so we'll buy those. I'll buy those because we're going to play as a group. So I swallow that pill. But Sony puts out what? 3 or 4 exclusives a year maybe that are like gotta plays. I mean, they've been kind of slow here lately, but they put out about 3 on average, I'd say a year gotta have. So they're not too bad to contend with. But if I'm spending $500 on a console to play only 3 games that cost me another $300, well, then there's a problem.
Yeah. But you got to remember this. You can always take it to GameStop and get $12.50.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Or $2.50.
Well, if they're $100 games, they're going to go up from $2.50 to $12.50.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like you said, the great thing about PlayStation and Xbox is they do have a lot of sales. So you can get a lot of those games, even retail. If you buy physical, there's a lot of those games go on sale, Best Buy or Walmart or whatever, a lot of the time. So you can pick those up fairly cheap. And even digital sales, just about every week, especially every week for Xbox, and I think the same for PlayStation. They have a sale every week where there's games on sale, right? And sometimes the sale for a certain game is like $5 off, and you're like, okay, no. One game in particular, Manhunter, the shark game, or Maneater, right? The shark game. It was on sale recently on the Xbox for what, $9 off or $5 off or something like that, and it was like, no, I want a better sell, and it'll eventually get to that point. So,
right.
For Xbox, that's what I typically look for too. There are some games that I have purchased Xbox games on there at full price. But those are the games that I know I'm going to play. When Dark Souls 3 came out a long time ago on Xbox, I bought it day one because I know I was going to play it and love it, and I did. And it was a great game. Especially with PlayStation, again, it's one of those things too, like you said, when there's exclusive games come out that I know I'm going to love, I buy those day one and I have them in there. But my other PlayStation games that I have, I've waited till they've gone on sale because I know they're eventually going to go on sale. And like you said, Nintendo never goes on sale. And if they do, it's like $5 off. So it's like, what's the point?
Right. Might as well just bought it used for that price.
Yeah, right. Might as well just go to GameStop and buy one of their used copies because it's going to get $5 off there. So there's really no point. But it's gonna be great.
Yeah, so I think that kind of wraps up our dessert section, I mean, we talked about some DC games and then the Marvel game that we got to play, so, and then we went off on a few tangents. So, I think we covered all the topics of those games.
I agree. And I think it is now Shane's time. He's going to go make room after dessert to talk about upcoming releases. Shane?
Oh, yes. This week, we got some new games coming out here. No particular order, but this week we got Jump Force for the Switch. Project Cars 3 is pretty much for everything. Wasteland 3, which we're all excited to jump into.
Game for Game Pass.
I love me some Game Pass. Madden NFL 21. If you're a football player. I'm not. But this one is interesting. You need to check out the trailers for Road to Guangdong. It's an adventure game where you're on the road with your family.
I think Shane's been talking about that game for like a week or two now.
I think so.
I cannot stop watching the trailer. It's so goofy.
And he sent us the trailer the first time, and there was nothing there.
Yeah, there was no trailer. And so he had to make sure that we all saw it. We had to make sure we had to all see that trailer.
It was a bad link, but yeah, it's funny as hell. We got Outbreak, the new Nightmare for PS4, and Tell Me Why for, well, everybody. And the one I am probably most excited to try is Vader Immortal. For VR.
Even your
PS4 VR. Yeah, but you get to play as Vader. And I already breathe that way, so we are set.
I guess I'm gonna have to go to Shane's house. I'll have to pre-COVID spray down the VR set.
There you go. Either Shane's house or you can come here. Either way.
Yeah.
You can play the Vader.
You can get the COVID wherever you'd like.
Yeah, where are you?
I'll go to Nick's or Shane's house. Yeah, I'll just have to kick the kids off of it when I get there.
But it's kind of a weak week, except for Wasteland, in my opinion, and the Vader game. And I will at some point try the Road to Guangdong just because it's so goofy.
Because he wants to.
Yeah. But it's kind of a light week. So let us know what you're playing.
Yep, I know I'm going to be playing some Wasteland 3 in our next game we'll talk about. That's upcoming that I'm still playing. But yeah, Wasteland 3 is definitely going to be a heavy game for me. I loved the Wasteland series. It's all that Fallout-esque style game. So for me, that's going to be I'm going to definitely be hitting that hard.
Yep, definitely.
Yep, definitely. And I think also Remedy's expansion for Control, the AWE, which is the Alan Wake expansion for Control, right. I think that came out already. So
I believe it came out on the 21st or the 17th of this month.
I think it came out recently because they just posted some stuff about it the other day. So I think it was maybe this Tuesday that it came out, maybe the 25th. I can't remember. Either way, I love Alan Wake and I love Control, and definitely be checking that out to see the connection between Alan Wake and Control. So
right, yeah.
And another Alan Wake. They need to make Alan Wake 2. Just putting it out there.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Well, I guess
Alan Wake is probably one of the maybe 10 games in my entire gaming history that I've actually bought all the DLC for. Love Alan Wake.
Well, hopefully you guys don't hate me because I've never played it.
Oh, you go to hell for that.
You need to get off this podcast and go play it right now.
I've never played Alan Wake. Some of those suspense thriller games just get to me. I don't have
it's more
anxiety.
It's more like action. It's more like it's not really scary. It's more like psychological
suspenseful.
Suspenseful.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
I really wanted to play like Setsuna, and that game with a headset on gave me anxiety.
I got medicine you can have.
I played that game and they're like, it's simulated psychosis, and I'm like, all right, it's simulated, and I can hear this crap in my head with my Adobe Atmos set, and I don't want to play anymore. It gave me anxiety. I don't know if everybody's the same, but some of the games give me anxiety to where I feel like I always constantly have to pee. I don't know why. It's one of those things. I go pee, I come back and I play it, and I'm like sitting there on my seat waiting for something to jump out, and I'm like, I'm going to have a heart attack playing these games because I just can't take the anxiety level of some of them. So, I've heard great things about Alan Wake. I have. And I actually have bought it on, I can't remember which of the stores that I bought it on or own it on, but I have it. I just have never played it because some of those games I get too much anxiety about them. So the things that save me in games like that is co-op or multiplayer. If I can play with somebody, it lessens the anxiety. I don't know. It's probably that same haunted house concept where if you go with your buddies, you can't let them see that you're a big pansy.
Right.
So you're like, hey, yeah, this is cool. This is fun. So
can't pee myself in front of my friends.
Yeah, they'll never let me live it down. So that, and then, another game that just came out that we probably is going to be on our radar eventually, but the DLC for Remnant, the last one came out that adds a couple new biomes. We loved that game. It was like a hidden gem game, but the DLC for it just came out not too long ago. So the Remnant from Ashes, that was a really, really good game that surprised me. It's a hard game, but you get to play co-op, so it lessens the difficulty. We still died a lot in that game, but we beat it. So, it's the Subject 2923 DLC that adds a couple biomes. So I'm sure we'll get to play that one in co-op and, definitely on our list, and it just came out like 16th or something. So definitely a new release that everybody should check out. If you haven't played Remnant, definitely a good little hard shooter game. I don't know if I would call it Dark Souls, but it kind of reminds me of Dark Souls if Dark Souls allowed you to have a gun.
Yeah, it's Dark Souls with guns. It can be that hard. but it is super fun, and especially it's super fun with co-op. You know, I hopefully it got the attention it should have deserved, because I think that was, at the time it came out, that was one of the greatest games to come out at that time, because there really wasn't anything out at that time, and that game came out of nowhere. I don't think anybody really knew much about it.
Yeah, it was definitely a surprise. I mean, it looked fine and stuff on trailers and whatnot. It looked interesting, but yeah, once you get in there, it is a blast. It really is.
I don't know how many times me and Nick stayed up pretty late playing it after everybody would get off, just the two of us still, because we were like, hey, I heard if you run the biome like this, you'll get this boss. And so we would keep running the biome over and over in adventure mode to try to find the boss or the secret thing. You know, we found so many different bosses and enemies that way. And like I said, it was a great game. Spent a lot of time in it. We beat it multiple times. We ran each of us through the end game. The last boss was a very interesting fight, and definitely a good game. So I would check out the expansion of that, and we'll be probably playing that, and I'll be playing a lot of Wasteland. So Wasteland 3 anyway.
Yeah, I can't wait to play the new expansion.
Yep, me neither. We'll be getting it eventually, and then be looking out for. So I mean, really, I don't have anything else for the upcoming and new release stuff. How about, do you guys have anything you want to bring up?
I already brought up my piece. Play the Alan Wake Control expansion that just came out. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm checking that out. The last expansion for Control came out not too long ago, which is really cool. But it's if you ever play Control, you get to go into the jukebox, and that mode. It's really, that expansion is really kind of like a survival mode, kind of like a attrition type mode. So it's not really a continuation of the story, but this one is, from what I've heard, and so and it brings a whole new portion to Control, so I'm really excited to play that.
Shane, you got anything else?
Road to Guangdong.
He'll be playing that one, and I'm sure we're all going to have to play it too, because you guys got to check this out. There'll be too many inside jokes from that game. So, like I said, we're playing lots of stuff. We're looking forward to seeing what you guys are playing. Look forward to our next podcast coming out, and we'll have a game review one up next week as well, and we'll be posting about that one. We appreciate everybody listening, and we'll catch up with everybody next time. See you later.